We're going to open it up to some transportation questions. Again, Nicholas going to come up and entertain some questions. We'll pull up the applicants if necessary. Again, we hear you loud and clear. We apologize for the confusion on the agendas between ours and the community groups. We'll make sure to devote some more time at the next week's meeting as well. But if you want to go and line up, keep in mind, we only have 20 minutes before we have to start heading out, so be respectful of the people behind you in line, and we'll get as much as we can done in the next 20 minutes. Thanks.
Thanks, Owen. So, it's only 20 minutes. I'll try and answer the questions you have for this evening. And if I don't have the answer, next meeting when we come back, I'll be able to address it. So let's start with this.
My name is Scott Phillips, and looking at the 2014 statistics on the website, they have 2.68 vehicles per average home in America. Assuming the 4,200 homes that will be added to the two developments, that means that we have to have 15% of the vehicles to go north on 419 and 15% of them to go south on South Canada. We're going to add 70% of those vehicles going on Lake Pickett. We have to provide for 99 vehicles per hour. We have normally 7 to 8 o'clock is when the rush hour is. What have you planned for additional vehicles on Lake Pickett?
So the way that this works is that the developers have submitted their studies, and the studies include what we call trip conversion. So based on their land uses, whether single family, residential, commercial, multifamily, and so forth, they generated a certain number of trips. So they modeled that out, and they distributed those trips throughout the network. So it's not just one road or 2 roads, but it's distributed throughout the entirety of the system. And that's what we're reviewing right now, and we can't tell you tonight, and maybe not even next week, as to what percentage of traffic is going to be specifically on Percival or on Tanner or on Sarah Cliff. But that's what we're evaluating right now, and at the end of the day, we're going to develop a plan that mitigates their impact. So, plainly speaking, we know which roads need to be addressed. There's State Road 50, there's McCulloch Road potentially, 419 Julio. So those are the roads that will have to be fixed. What needs to occur is to determine who's going to pay for what and when, and what the plan is for that. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a term sheet that we're developing. That term sheet will address comprehensively both projects and their respective responsibilities. They can't proceed with building anything until they mitigate those impacts in some way. So that's the process.
Thanks so much for being here and addressing questions. I'll be brief, a couple questions. One, as far as Lake Pickett goes, have you considered bringing it over 2 roads, maybe to 4 roads? It seems like that's going to be the new 50. Have you considered that?
Yes. So as was mentioned earlier, Lake Pickett Road is actually in our long-range plan. And it has been identified as a public-private partnership, which means that the county is not going to proceed with the improvements of State Road Lake Pickett unless we have a partner. And typically that means a developer. So we've identified a need that the road has to be 4-lane. The question now becomes, how far do we 4-lane? So one of the proposals that's been submitted is the 4-lane Lake Pickett from State Road 50 to the intersection of where the new extension of Lake Pickett would go to the northeast. So that's something we're evaluating. But again, our comprehensive plan requires the county to meet certain levels of service standards, meaning that the roads have to have certain capacity or development can't proceed. Okay? So this is where we are now. So what we're going to be doing is taking a look at what portion of Lake Pickett needs to be 4-lane. I can tell you tonight that there are portions of Lake Pickett that need to be 4-lane. Now the question is, who's going to pay for it, how, and when?
Okay, and just this one, I'm sure you can't really answer, but it's something I'm considering. Since we kind of want to try to avoid 50 and going above Lake Pickett North, maybe as a way of getting around this, have you done any partnerships or considered with Seminole County, how they can help alleviate Orange County's traffic issues? I know I'm probably giving answer, but just
well, I have to take this one. First, I don't want to say Seminole County, but I have had some conversations and some correspondence
You kind of answered my question about 419, but I thought it would be natural for it to go ahead and connect with Seminole County, but you don't think that's in the cards, huh?
Again, preliminary, we expect that Julia would be widened at the new intersection of Lake Pickett and Julia South. That's very preliminary. We're waiting on final results of the study, our evaluation. That's something that's been suggested by the developers. Again, it's an attempt to try to preserve the area that already is out there today. One thing we don't want to do is to impact the area most much as we can to new roads and new lines.
Here's a real far out question. 408, is there any plan in the next 20, 30 years to extend it on out?
Actually, there is. The Treasury Authority is undergoing what's called the Project Development Environment Study. It was kicked off just a month or so ago, and the plan is to extend 408 from where it ends today all the way to 520. Now, again, this is basically looking at the justification and the potential for extending that roadway. So they have to go through, at the end of the day, a traffic and revenue study to justify the extension, make sure that since it's a toll road, that you're going to have investors, they're going to have bonds to that road. So it's going to be a long haul. It's probably going to be a several-year process, but it has at least been kicked off. And by the way, Commissioner Edwards was instrumental in getting that project underway.
Very great, thank you.
I have a question for you. Why, we have been here at our house for almost 50 years. We came here after 20 years of military service. And then we bought the acreage around our house, which now we own 35 acres. So now you think to protect the environment, and now they're thinking that since that is all wasteland, let's put a road through it. Why are we being punished for being environmentally protected?
As always said very early on during the presentation, county staff is not an advocate for or against any project. We're here to evaluate and give the facts. So if we have to plan for contingencies, meaning that these projects go through the process of transmittal and ultimately adoption, if that happens, the county staff needs to be prepared to answer questions. One of the questions that we're going to be asked is there adequate capacity, is there adequate infrastructure, whether it's roadways, fire stations, school, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to respond not only to the elected officials, but we have to respond to you. So we have to evaluate what the possibilities are, and if these developments are going to be accommodated as they move forward, we have to have infrastructure to accommodate that development. So that's where we stand. We're not for or against anything.
So if you take my house, it's 6,300 square feet. We built it in 1972 when it was still allowed. Our pool is 20 by 40, which now it's not okay to build. How do you replace that?
Standing here today, there's no way that anybody in this room can answer that question. In fact, if these projects were to move forward, we probably won't be able to answer that for at least 8 or 9 months, which is when the preliminary engineering studies would start. So as to whether we're taking a whole house or 5 feet of front yard or 1 foot of backyard, nobody can tell you today, nobody can tell you 2 months from now. It's going to be when the preliminary engineering studies start, and that's assuming that these projects move forward. So if somebody tells you they're going to tell you that they're going to take your house or a certain number of feet of your front yard, that's not the case.
So will we be
But we've got one.
Yeah, just one more
Let's
question.
get through
Will
real
we
quick.
be
We've got like 5
notified
minutes.
if you do?
Sorry?
Will you notify us if you
Of course. So the process is going to be, assuming that the comp plan amendment moves forward, okay, and the road infrastructure agreements are in place, we're going to be required to, the developer, to go through workshops and public hearings to address the transportation network and the improvement. So we're going to go through the preliminary engineering stage, which requires workshops like this, public hearing of the Board of County Commissioners. You'll have to go through design, you have to go through right-of-way acquisition, and have to go through construction. So it's a multi-layered
cut and paste of last week. I'm not sure exactly what the purpose of today was, other than maybe to let more people talk. But what exactly is the purpose of next week's meeting? I don't know if you're the right person to ask, but somebody, we would like to know what is next week's meeting.
I think from the feedback that we got this evening, a good part of it is going to be transportation. And Ola, I don't know if we've got other items.
Again, our agenda was to talk about the plans and the maps the first meeting, the policy amendments tonight, and the applicant somewhat did that. I mean, I think the second applicant probably did a better tie-in of their project to the proposed policies in the first. But the purpose of the next meeting was to basically wrap everything up in a pretty bow and send it on to the Board of County Commissioners and the Planning and Zoning Commissioners for their consideration. Obviously, we have a lot of work between now and the public hearings. We have to refine the policies. The applicants are going to have to revise their concept plans or their conceptual regulating plans. We have a lot of work to do, but the next meeting was basically to talk about everything we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago tonight, and then get it ready for transmittal consideration before the local planning agency and the Board of County Commissioners.
Well, my second question very quickly then is, since we don't have any of these answers, so everybody seems to be kind of like maybe this, that, about the traffic situation, there is no plan yet. Shouldn't we maybe delay the next meeting until some of these answers are ready for us? Why are we rushing through this? Why are these public meetings, boom, 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 when there's no, we're not getting the answers?
You have a very good point. Alberto Vargas, planning manager. Just wanted to let you know where staff stands at this point. We are going to bring to you our next meeting. The majority of the emphasis will be the transportation studies and the transportation analysis that the county is doing. That's going to be the core discussion in terms of information provided to you by the applicants and by the county. Until we're ready to do that, we will not have another meeting. So.
You got that on tape, everybody?
I got it.
So just to clarify, the applicants are here. We have the studies for North. I don't have it for South yet. So we have to take our time to evaluate those, and then we're going to have questions that we send back to the applicants, and then they have to respond back to our questions. So, to Alberto's point, we may not have all that information by next week, so I'm not sure what's going to happen to the schedule. I just want to make you aware that I'm going to try to answer transportation questions to the best of my ability. And if I don't have all the information that I need, you have some specific issues, I may not be able to address those.
All right, on State Road 50, I live in Fairways Golf Course. And it takes me 2 minutes and 45 seconds just to wait for the light to change on 50. That's ridiculous.
Where?
Right off of the Fairways Country Club.
Sorry?
Fairways Country Club.
Pebble Beach.
Pebble Beach. 2 minutes and 45 seconds. I sat there and timed it. Now, you're going to have a 4-lane road coming back out onto 50 on the pavement. During rush hour in the morning, it could take me a half an hour to get from there up to LFA. Now, with 50 being widened, as it is now, how are you going to change anything when you have all these other people onto that road?
So, 050, as you know, is being widened to 6 lanes. The traffic signals are not optimized right now because of all the construction. Most of the traffic loops are in the ground, a lot of them ain't cut. So we've been coordinating with the department and the contractor that's building the road to try and manage those signals as fast as possible for the construction period. By the way, that's going to take another 2 years before it's completed, so I understand the issue. But once the road is completed and built, those signals are going to be coordinated and I can tell you today that the food trips are going to get most of the green time, not the side streets. Now, whether that 2 minutes can be reduced to a minute and 45, I don't know, but those are precisely the type of things that we will be coordinating with the Department of Transportation in terms of managing the signals.
Now, is that going to include picketing?
It will include all intersections that are signaled. Sir?
Yes. The other lady mentioned that what I had said earlier about the developers that are coming before the commission for the North Lake and South developments. They've had months and months and months and months to petition the commission, and you come before the community in 5 weeks. Just give us information overload. It's way too much information, and we can't really fight back, so to speak, in such a short time frame. And they've had an opportunity to develop the same for months, just overwhelm the commission. So I hope it doesn't make it past the transmittal periods. But what I wanted to ask you, I think it was Dwight set up, mentioned something about a transportation mitigation contribution. And I was curious about that.
That's specific to the State Road 50. I know we're going to run out of time here because we have to have the school close out, so I apologize. The conversation that Lake Pickett South and the county, to some extent, has had with the Department of Transportation is the potential of advancing State Road 50 basically from Old Cheney to Toledo. The project is currently under design now, but there is no funding for some potential right-of-way that's required, and certainly no funding for construction, at least not in the first 5 years of the program. So the idea is for the developer to advance fund, basically write a check for whatever the amount is, essentially section, so that the department can then undertake the improvement. Again, that's going to require the design review that's required for the right-of-way that be purchased and constructions that we're looking at rather than 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road.
You said it was a development road check?
That is a proposal, yes.
And how much will that be for?
The estimates, so don't hold me to this, because the estimates are all over. Originally, it was somewhere around $12 million. Last year, I heard it was 17. So there's still a lot of work to be done before those numbers are right.
$17 million might get you a quarter of a mile of road.
$17 million to get 6 lanes from Old Cheney to
Well,
that's what the department's doing.
but that's to follow after the development's developed, not before.
Those are some of the issues we're going to have to deal with. So it's, when does the actual construction start?